Okay, here we go. Nordic still up. Wow. Unbelievable. Although, once again, I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning and tossed and turned for about an hour and a half, and I said, F it. I'm waking up. At least it's on a weekend. Hope that doesn't happen tomorrow. I'm definitely staying up tomorrow. Get some stuff done before a work day. I slept weird. This whole shoulder hurts, so I already took some Tylenol for it. Need to loosen it up a little bit. Yeah, so yesterday it's like 8 o'clock at night. And I'm like, I'm really, really tired. I'm going to take a nap. Come wake me up in about an hour. Next thing I know, it's 3 in the morning. So I'll have to find out in a couple of hours what happened. I was probably very resistant to being woken up or something like that. Typical. Okay, let's see where we have a chore of things to do. We got to build a bunch of little parts. Okay, so let's go ahead and just do the double flip. I think that's about where it needs to be. Okay, so the first stage is going to be over here, putting two of the sprocket wheels together. I'm going to get rid of this screen. Been watching Dexter New Blood. Also had a real bad evening with my intestinal stuff. Surprise, I'm still awake. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I can't go to sleep if you have to poop. And it's not necessarily a bad poop. It's just, you're full and uncomfortable. So, yeah, if it's even worse, I can see that. I have this Tamiya cutter sitting in my Amazon cart, looking for some other hobby tools. Well, so I watched a video yesterday on photo etch because I'm a noob. I said I was going to. I ended up going up to Jacksonville. The girls went shopping, and I found a store to sit in and put my earbuds on and listen to a couple videos. And I need to get the blades that are the chisel blades to cut the things out. I have one, and I don't know how I have it. They recommend that I use this, number 16, but you can see this one already has a big gouge in it. So I'll have to get more of these, but they recommended to use these for the, to break the, I don't even know how I have that one. But I stopped by Hobby Lobby. They don't carry them. They don't carry them, so I'm going to have to Amazon them. But yeah, I watched some photo etch stuff on it. And guys like, oh, you need to buy this thing in a hard surface and this other thing to push up against it. I'm like, okay, I got all that stuff, and I could probably make it myself. But I do need to get the blades. I'll just make do until I get one of them, as I got a million of these. But maybe I'll try chiseling down on them like this, not the other way around. But I'll get around to ordering some of those. I'll use a hard surface to cut them as well, like ceramic. Yeah, that's what the guy said. Yeah, I've got one around here somewhere. Yeah, this actually gives a little bit, and I mean to do that on purpose, but it doesn't really work for that surface. So, well, that's actually one of the things I got to do next is I got to cut out the sprocket wheel. So we're gonna have to go with these because I've just got too many of them, and I'm not worried about it. Let me go a tile. I don't think I have a tile laying around here. I bet I could cut it on the back of this. I bet this would be fine. Let's try it. Sometimes you just got to make do with what you have, Stop throwing money at the problem, people. Work with what you have. I'm surprised that that's what the recommendation was for photo etch. I thought it would be something a little bit more specific. Okay. I very clearly heard them both snap. Why aren't you coming off? Did I cut two different ones? Drink. I don't feel like having coffee this morning either. There we go. This seems to work good enough. And we have to take these off as well. So far, this is working better than the first one I did. I guess the hard surface makes sense. It just wouldn't have. Sometimes you got to watch a video to get different ideas in your head. We'll see if we can't fire up the airbrush today. All right, well, that was a lot better than last time. Any else photo etch things coming in? Yeah, this piece right here, I'm going to go ahead and cut this little guy out. Now, one thing this actually recommended, unlike other stuff, is it said make sure you look at both sides because one of them is indented, and that would be this one, cut from the indented side. I only watched 2 videos, so you know, normally in plastic you'd get like close and then finish it off, and this one's they want you to actually try to do it in one go at it. It didn't snap there, but you had to cut it and push it up against it. That worked pretty well. That worked pretty well. Okay. Good to know. Hey, I watched one video, bought no tools, and I already got better. Should also use a hard surface like a center. Okay. Go with gentle rocky motion with a blade, or you can get your hands on thin metal scissors that maybe a sewing kit. I don't have a sewing kit. I'm not opposed to sewing stuff. Sewing kit. I'm actually better at sewing things than cooking. May have caused a micro crack in the blade. That happens too. Learning new skills each time you model is really rewarding. It is. Liz, unless you have an attitude that you already know it all. I don't have one of those attitudes. Yeah, doing this and you walk away, you should walk away with a good attitude, not like, fuck this hobby. I'm not gonna do that shit no more. I get paid to have attitudes like that. Fuck this hobby, I ain't gonna do this shit no more. Oh, man. Let's cut 3A out. Oh, here we go. These stupid Ukrainians. You know, on one side it's 3A, on the other one it's 17. It should have just been called the same piece. They give it two different numbers for no reason whatsoever. No, these things are amazing, man. These things are really amazing. The only way they could be better is if they could be even thinner, but at some point they could end up starting to get damaged. So they can get in places. Can they get in here? Yeah, wow. I don't know, last time I built models, I didn't take my contacts out to build them. You know, meaning before October of last year. And it's a freaking huge advantage. I'm going to go ahead and pull these pieces off as well and cut them out because they're up next. So Tamiya powders are no good, huh? Well, that means that not everything made by every company is worth a damn. You know, there's always going to be duds, or there's going to be stuff that doesn't really. They can't be good at everything. So, I used to love their paints. I used to love their paints because I used to like how they smelled. And no, I didn't huff them, but remember that was the time period where acrylics still were kind of in the infancy, so to speak. There weren't that many options. We had Poly S, and that was it. Poly S and Tamiya. So Tamiya actually brush painted okay, and it went really well, but it got tacky really fast. I don't know if they changed the formula or anything, but this is like 1988, so who knows what it is now. But and their lids on their paints were so much better than Poly S. Now you've got rubber lids stuff and things like that better, but you know you had there's a lot to like for it at the time. So, but I haven't touched them in 30 years. So there should be an international standard for numbering. I don't know. That sounds like more rules. I'm against rules. The problem with creating more rules is most people don't follow them. So it's just really rules for people that, you know, don't want to get in trouble with a popo. So it's just more overhead for those of us that, you know, that are trying to be better citizens. So I'm against rules. I was on the way back from Jacksonville and ran into almost all the way back, and came to a stoplight. It's on a 2-lane road, and we ran in. I was driving. I ran into I was coming to a stop at a 4-way stop, and I ran into a pothole. That based on the speed I was going, I wasn't going that fast. I was already slowed down, maybe 20 miles an hour, 32 kilometers or whatever it is, and slowing down. I still have not seen the pothole. It gave the car such a freaking jolt. I thought something had happened to the wheel, or the rim, as most people call it. And then we went into a big discussion of, aren't they ever going to fix the potholes? No. They're going to take your money, and they're not going to use it for what it's intended for, which is why I'm anti-taxes. Because if you take taxes from us for a certain purpose, and you don't use it for that, and then you get more, and then you don't use it for that either, I don't want to give you money. You obviously don't know how to spend the money. You know? It's not that I'm anti-taxes. I'm anti you being an idiot. I'm not giving you more money. So the road I live on, actually, this happened out kind of in the country. The road I live on, this side street you sometimes hear, it's a 2-lane road. It sounds really busy, but it's really not. But it is notorious for not being fixed. They just patch over it. A good rain comes in, and the patch pops off. And it's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing that They collect money for this shit and they don't use it for that. Then don't say you're going to collect for it. Be transparent. Sorry, it's my anti-government rant. It's like we had to go buy a computer for my daughter for her college. She starts college in a couple of weeks, and I didn't realize it was tax-free weekend. And I said, every week should be tax-free weekend. You should be either taxed on the goods you buy or taxed on your income, but not both. Either tax whatever percentage on your income or the goods you buy. But both is just being, dirty. But they don't want to do that because the people in power and the ultra rich, those Normans, have all these loopholes to get out of shit, where normal people don't have loopholes. I'd run for government. I'd be the anti-loophole party. Like, these are the rules. Well, what about? There is no what about. Shut up. This is what you got to pay. Now, there's no money in that. There's no wheeling and dealing. It's too transparent. I wouldn't make it. So you can get a laugh, Tony. Excellent. I'm always up for a laugh. I was surprised to discover one of my favorite Asian women is in Dexter and is Jamie Chung. Isn't Dexter kind of like a serial killer that's good? I don't know. It may be an okay show, but on the surface, it just seems like one of those, again, there's not really evil. It's a gray area kind of crap. Jamie Chung. I don't know that there is... Okay, go ahead and sit down if you're not sitting down already. I don't know that there is an Asian lady that comes to mind that I find extremely attractive. I'm not saying there aren't out there. I just don't know any by name. But that's not really my shtick. But we'd be really good wingmen for each other because I prefer redheads and brunettes. So talk about a non-compete clause that wouldn't even need to be written. I did date this half Japanese girl for a while, but she looked like my people. So she looked a little like Paula Abdul in a way, kind of. I don't know. I don't remember, but she was super cute. But she couldn't drive worth a damn. Her daddy kept buying her new cars. I'm like, that's just a bad combination. That's just a bad combination, especially when you're like poor. When you're like a poor student. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be single again. I wouldn't want to be in my 20s again. I really wouldn't fit in. I really wouldn't fit in with today's society. I walked into, where was I at? The Apple store. Holy fuck, I couldn't work there. It was like a circus. There's no way I could work there. I'm way too old school. I'm way too traditionally conservative. I'm pretty libertarian, but man, I'm definitely traditionalist. In case you guys couldn't tell, I don't belong in the Apple store. I don't have an Apple phone, so I felt like weird. I felt like I was the Heinz 57 ketchup factory. Other than the smell, that would drive me crazy. I'd be like, yeah, I don't do any of these products here. Let's see. The girl that was on 24 that ended up, I don't know, have you seen 24? If you haven't seen it, tough, I'm going to spoil it for you. The girl that was on 24, I think she's half Japanese, that I think she got killed in season 3 or whatever. That actually surprised me. The one that was hooked up with Tony. She was kind of cute. I don't remember what her name is, but I'm sure they're out there. They just don't come to mind. Yeah, I was playing this game while we were waiting. I was like, all right, let's find the most normal looking person here that works here. I couldn't find one. I absolutely could not find one. I mean, they went out of their way to be eccentric looking. Where's my time machine, damn it? Oh, man. Okay, so these guys are going to need to be glued together. Cool. These guys are going to glue together. All right. I guess I probably need to do that before I go to something else. Never saw 24, but I know of it. I tried to watch it again with my daughter, and it's a little too like, really? You mean this person's looking for that one, and they cross paths, and they're 3 meters away, but they don't see each other? Come on. There's too many of that going on. But there was a lot of surprises in it. There was a lot of like, oh, snap. All right, we're going to use the Tamiya glue. I feel like it works a little bit better. Oh, I need to hide this one. This is the one that's got the shitty tip on it. That got frayed. Well, I feel better already. I was feeling a little under the weather, which is stupid because I went to sleep like at 8. Like, you know, if anybody should feel like they're born again, it's freaking me. You know, give up my freaking Saturday night. Because I don't want to get too involved in anything because I gotta leave this packed up pretty much every day that I work on stuff. I guess I need to do both sides. Oh no, here we go. I need to do both sides. I need to leave everything packed up because you never know when somebody's gonna need to come in for a showing, and I don't mind. I like you get home and you're like, holy shit, everything's all organized and stuff. I like that. I mean, other than the stuff that you see here on my table. I will tell you that I noticed a bit of woke agenda in the Dexter New Blood, but I'm also ignoring it because I actually like the first Dexter show enough to buy it. Well, you know, for those of us that are already set in our ways, the woke agenda is just annoying. It's not like we're going to get converted all of a sudden. Like my daughter's going to college. I don't think she's going to turn into a communist or anything like that. So I'm not really afraid of that. Or though she does say things like, "Daddy, I don't talk to any of my friends that we go to the range." I'm like, why not? I said, "Oh, because they would think that I was a something, something, something." I'm like, the hell happened to this country? I'm like, we're just hurling lead at cardboard safely and responsibly, you know? It's what the hell the problem is. I said, okay, well, you do what you got to do. Boy, this is super shitty. I don't remember the other side being this much of a problem. Let's risk having a neck injury. Let me give myself a couple of inches of height advantage. All right, I'm just going to line these things up, and we're just going to let these guys sit here for several hours, and it'll all straighten itself out, I'm sure. Just seems like they're slippery. They'll end up gripping. They don't fit inside of anything. They sit on each other's surface. Kind of odd. These Russian and Ukrainian things are weird. I wouldn't say they're bad. I would just say that they have a lot of detail, but it's not consistent. It's, not the finish is okay, but the connection points aren't even, or they don't have markings where things go. It's just, they're not for beginner modelers. Definitely, it's not a Tamiya kit. People like to be offended on other people's behalf. I don't think that I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever gotten upset by somebody else about what happened in somebody else's life. That's their problem. It's sickening, actually. I'm genuinely accepting of anyone, everyone, regardless of gender, orientation, religion, skin tone. Yeah, I don't care. There's lots of people who are like me that I dislike. Yeah, I don't care what your religion is, as long as you don't try to blow yourself up next to me. I don't care what you believe in. Don't hurt other people. Don't be a dick. All right. I know you don't like me doing this, but tough titty, this is all I have. My gel super glue. Tough titty. Can you say that anymore? I can. Right. Yeah, she fits in there really nice. So, sometimes the fit and finish on things is surprising how good it is. And sometimes it's just like, did you not test fit this at all? Like, this is superb. I'm almost fit in there with no glue. Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten offended for somebody else. If something doesn't bother you, why should it bother me? And different things bother different people. Like the worst thing you could call me is a liar. You call me anything else other than a liar. I don't freaking lie. I'm blunt, yes. Am I an asshole? Absolutely. It's even fun to admit that. But besides, you brought it on yourself. Why are you an asshole? Because you're stupid, All right, I'll put that one on that end. This one goes over here. Only thing worse being called a liar is somebody said that you told them something you didn't tell them. Oh, them's fighting words. I had to use some epoxy on some stuff. Do you have a bad childhood experience with epoxy? I do, but I've gotten over it. Actually, I watched a video, and the guy said to use regular thin super glue and gel. But then he didn't tell me what application to use for each. Well, I have gel. I don't have the regular one. I did. I guess I ran out. Or it dried out, or... What was it that we decided we could use for this? This end. Hot tamale, look at that. It fits right in the end. You can push down on it. Okay. Now we're going to use this little contraption. Might as well use the one that's been sitting around a little bit longer, connected. And this actually took me a couple tries on the one to get it to stick, but it stuck. Ah, Snapdragon. Those, because two of them stick out more than the other ones. And that's where there's these tiny little holes there. That's where those things should fit on there. All right. We're going to go east to west on the two prongs. And it is pretty close to east to west because north is that way. Well, went out to lunch yesterday and I actually tested my theory. I did not have a wheat type of beer, and I felt fine. So I think I'm just going to try to avoid them. Something in them is just giving me enough of an allergic reaction that I get an annoying headache for a while. And it was hot too. If there's any kind of a day that it would have felt like crap, it would have been yesterday. It was like, feel like 112. And we're out a fair amount outside going in between stores, so. I found a book that when I had gone to Connecticut, I regretted not picking it up. And I didn't pick it up yesterday because I just didn't think it was, I didn't want to spend $40 on it. But it was a really unique World War II book. And it was called World War II in Illustrations or something like that. The entire book, it's one of those coffee table books. It's all like charts and like, manpower, whatever, and it breaks down a lot of like the behind the scenes kind of stuff that you don't hear about. Production numbers and casualties and it all breaks it up in like charts that's easy to understand. And I thought it was pretty unique. And but I didn't remember what the hell it was called. But it was like $40. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need it that badly. I'm good. But I did flip through it once. It's a pretty cool book. Only because at a glance, between pie charts and those graphs that you've got like the little pegs that go up and stuff like that, it's easy to kind of get the gist of things that maybe you're interested in but don't want to spend, a lot of time researching at a glance. Nah, it's a lot of effort to mix it up for it to dry on before you can properly get to the photo etch where you want it. That's true. Woke is a misnomer. It's old-fashioned political correctness, which is liberal, libertarian, and part of both socialist and conservative identity. I call ASCs a product when streams get away. So you can always just not drink beer. Never been fond of beer. I like everything. I could feel a beer. I could have like whiskey and not even feel it. So the problem with like liquor is if you go to a place, it doesn't tell you how much it is. You know, I mean, unless it's a beverage, like they want to hide it. Like, okay, those 2 and 3 are done. 4, heading to 4. Okay, 13 A's and 14 A's. Again, I don't know if you can see this. This is what the problem with this kit is. If this kit has a problem, it's this one. Okay? And many kits actually have this problem. Look at this piece here. Okay? It's this wheel. It's a half of a wheel that's a 13A that connects to a 14A, right? And you got to do this 1, 2, 3, 4 times 8. 32 times you have to do this, all right? So there's 32 of each of these. No big deal, right? See how 14A looks like it has like a little part that goes on the inside? It's basically a female connection. 13A is also female. So one doesn't fit inside of the other to keep it in place. It's basically 2 donuts that you have to align next to each other. It's kind of shitty in that way. That's really the only problem this kit has. It fits together pretty well. Oh, wait. Was I wrong? I was wrong. Forget everything I said. I'm an idiot. It does have a male end. Something else around here. These are 2 females. This is 2 donuts. Okay, forget what I was saying. I must have drink. Bourbon, Irish whiskey, I haven't had alcohol since before the pandemic. Tried building a World War I tank. No, they're ugly. You have to make nearly 100 sets of wheels. Every single World War I tank is extremely unattractive. No. Except the French one, the Saint Chamond. That one's actually, I think that's what it's called. That one's, I mean, it's a sexier box. I don't know. I actually looked at doing some World War One, but I can't be into everything. Some smartass said that one time, and it makes a lot of sense. Okay, 13A and 14A. All right, we need to do that 32 freaking times. Holy Christ. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 14. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 2 times 8. It's 16. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so it's these all male ones. All right, I'm not going to use the cutter for this or I'll be here all month. This is going to be a lot quicker. I'm not going to cut up to the piece anyways. And cut all the tops of them off and we'll come back and do all the bottoms. I wanted to go to the bookstore there in town. They had carried a copy of War Games, Soldiers, and Strategy. Looked through it. They didn't carry it anymore. Although the way to get those magazines is definitely digitally. You can go and see what's on the magazine, buy it, and it costs you a fraction of the total cost, and then you can bring it to yourself. You can bring it with yourself at all times. So I bought a couple of War Games, Soldiers, and Strategy a couple months ago, and that's what I did. They were like $5 a piece instead of 10. It might have even been less than $5 a piece. And it's a beautiful magazine. Okay, and then the female ones should be these plus these two. Just like World War I aircraft. World War I aircraft are infinitely less attractive than World War II aircraft. I mean, it's not even close. I don't find radial engine aircraft attractive to begin with. There's exceptions to the rule, but as a general rule, radial engine aircraft just don't rub me the right way. You know, you could take something like a P-47. No, a Focke-Wulf. A Focke-Wulf is less attractive than like a Hawker Fury. Hawker Fury is an inline engine plane. Pre-war. I think Yugoslavia actually used some. And I think the Matchbox kit even comes with decals for Yugoslavia. It's an attractive aircraft. And it's a biplane. But it's an inline engine. Sorry, I'm an inline engine fan. Quite fun World War I tanks. They weather up nicely. Build whatever I want. It's quite liberating. Damn right. Rapid fire, smart ass. Speaking of war game soldier strategy, what happened to that Christy who was doing some painting videos on YouTube? She was more anal about how she painted than me. Christy. I better not look up anal girl on YouTube. I'm just saying, you know, it could take you places that you had not intended. Christy Painter. I don't know about this one. I keep telling my wife, I said, you need to be on my show. I'll get more viewers. It's not that kind of a show. You know, if there was something for her to contribute to, but it's not like it's a cooking show or something. She's totally not into this. Christy. I encourage people to paint better than me because it motivates me. I'm not like, I don't want anybody to be better than me. Just like encourage, like, hey, dude, make, you know. You think, hey, it'd be pretty cool if you're married to somebody who was a gamer and a painter. Yeah, but what if your significant other did like 28 millimeter? Could you stand being around them? What do you do? Oh, I paint with my significant other. Awesome, that sounds great. Yeah, but she likes contrast paints. Motherfucker. You've subscribed to Miniature War Games and War Games Soldiers and Strategy or physical copy. Digital sub for War Games Illustrated with access to their vault of back numbers. Probably going digital for war. Oh my gosh, I can't keep track of them all. But, you know, almost all of those. Let's see, which ones did you mention? So I have some old copies of, which is the one that I have copies of? I think Miniature War Game. No, War Games Illustrated. I used to have some. They're all good from the standpoint of inspirational for painting, but some of them just have some subject matter that I'm just not interested in. You know, it could be like lace wars. Like, I don't give a shit about lace wars, you know? I don't want my figures wearing lace, and it's just a period that just doesn't interest me. But the digital's cool. It's like, oh, this episode has, you know, scenarios for World War II. All right, well, I'll risk $5 on it or whatever. But I was watching some I don't remember which magazine it was, but they have a YouTube channel as well. And they basically did this short video. It was like maybe 5 to 10 minutes long, where they showed all of the miniatures that they used in the current episode. And they were on a turntable. So they were on this turntable that was turning slowly, and they had their miniatures. You may have seen what it was. And so they had the miniature on there, and it was, basically just showing, hey, these are the miniatures that we used in our publication, promoting our publication, and here they are, and they're in all their glory. With the exception of Cruel Seas. With the exception of the Cruel Seas stuff they had, which was only a few things. Every single thing else was 28 millimeter. So if you weren't doing 28 millimeter, it was like almost like you were just being disowned. And I get it; it's probably the most popular for the reasons that it may have. I can tell you that the excuse of, well, I got to go to a bigger scale because I can't see so well, doesn't really apply to me. I take my contacts off now, but I don't. They're more expensive. They take up more space, and both of those things. It used to be they just didn't make figures that I like. No, there's a lot of 28 millimeter figures that are really good looking. It's way too late for me to start on that. And but unless if you did 15s or 10s or God forbid 6s or something like that, there just wasn't anything there for you. So. And some of it, I guess, some of it I've heard is people getting older, needing to pay bigger figures. I don't buy that one. I think it's people that got their start with Warhammer and are used to that scale, and that's their scale. Just like I'm used to 1/72nd from being a kid and building the models. I just stuck with it. But the people that are gonna play 28 millimeter Warhammer 40K, and then are gonna go like, what? I'm gonna delve into historicals. The game that's gonna appeal to them is not a game that's gonna appeal to me. It's gonna be way too basic. It's gonna be bolt action-ish. Rifle. You're the one that said it. Rifle range 24 inches. That doesn't work. I think the grenade range and what I play is 16 inches. It's what you see is what you get. So, there used to be a few digital-only magazines, such as Battle Games. I subscribed to a thing way back, it's probably over 20 years now. This thing on the miniatures page, a place I'd ever go to anymore. And not because of any controversies it may have. It's just difficult to search through things. I think the format that it has is just not user-friendly. That's why I like Facebook a lot, because I think Facebook is very user-friendly. Like, I take a picture of something and I want to share it with other people to motivate them. And it's easy for me to share from my computer, from my phone, comment on it, see who commented on the last one, see whose comment was the last comment that I can comment on. It's easy to decipher and figure all of that stuff out. The old I got conned into joining a message group type of thing. I forget which one it is, and it's just so difficult to see who said what, and you can't host a picture here. You got to go to a hosting service and then link it, and I ain't got time for that. The days of that are gone. So I don't go to the miniatures page anymore. But when I did, way back when, there was this thing called MagWeb. And MagWeb was apparently you could subscribe for, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was monthly or a one-time thing, but you had access to a bunch of magazines that were no longer in publication, like Panzerfaust and the Courier and all kinds of stuff. and not every magazine, but several of them. Many of them that I never heard of before. And I did it for a little bit amount of time and downloaded some scenarios back. So this was before DBA, because I didn't have any DBA type of stuff in it. So this must have been in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. And there were some interesting magazines there. Some of them were more professional than others. But there's one scenario in particular that I always thought was really, really interesting. As a skirmish scenario in Tunisia. And it was really cool because on a 4x8 table, it actually had like 4 different forces coming in. 2 Allied, 2 German, and it was just kind of interesting how they were going to mix it up. You started 172nd yourself back in the mid-90s. I sold them when I got into playing Flames of War, since that's what everybody was playing, I had to go with. Mid-90s. What was I doing in the mid-90s? Well, I was already working where I'm working now. I was working on my 20mm World War II stuff. Most of my figures I had painted are from the mid-90s. Flames of War has been around that long? Wow, I didn't know that. In the early 90s, like I said, in the early 90s, there was no 15mm World War II that I was aware of. The first one that I saw in the States was the Command Decision range by Old Glory. They partnered with Command Decision. They gave you these big packages of stuff. You know, 5 tanks. What do you mean 5 tanks in a pack? What the hell? That's a lot, you know. But some of their quality wasn't the best. It was kind of, you get like Panthers and they look kind of squashed. And that's just me through the package. I never bought any, but just seemed kind of limited. Yeah, I was doing 172nd in the 80s. As somebody on the miniatures page rightly called it, the one true God's own scale. The one true scale, or God's own scale. That one wasn't as controversial as anything larger than 20mm is playing with dollies. I wish I could remember who said that, but in the day before internet trolls, people came unglued. Or certain people came unglued. Other people would just laugh about shit, you know? Like, haha, I don't give a shit what you're doing. I'm still doing that scale, you know, or I'm still doing, you know, whatever it is that I do. Tedious and methodical. I haven't had any coffee this morning. I'm almost ready to have some. Oh, geez. How'd it get to be 6 already? I'm telling you, this takes way too long. This time flies building models a hell of a lot more than painting figures. It really, really does. Let's seal this up for the time being. Think you're making a decision on weathering pigments tougher than it needs to be. I want a dust effect and maybe one that does dried mud splatter. There's a guy that did some 1/72nd scale stuff. I want to say he's on Facebook, and it's his name of his. It's a guy, but he doesn't have a human page. It's just his hobby thing. I want to say it's called World War II Modeling something or another, World War II Soldiers or whatever. This guy does an incredible job on the mud on his vehicles. And he uses like Vallejo mud or something like that. And it's really, really good. I think it's just a one trick, one pop. He uses this and puts it on there. And it looks very realistic. I'll have to take one of his pictures and send it to you. See what you think. I don't remember which particular product it is, but it was definitely a Vallejo product. Because I was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh man, this shoulder. I don't know that he has a YouTube channel. If he does, I haven't looked for it. The name of his, I'll tell you in a second. Let me put the last of these road wheels on there. He does really good work. And it looks like he does a good balance between, realism and playing piece. Because, you can't really expect to do, stuff like Night Shift or Plasma or something like that. You never get anything done. If you're doing that kind of detail, you're going to do like 4 more vehicles in your life and then you're done. And their stuff looks better than a real vehicle. You look at a real vehicle next to something like Night Shift or Plasma does, you're like, real vehicle looks like crap, All right, let's find out what this guy's name is. Soldier On or something like that. Let's find out who he is. I will find out who he is. Get ready to write this down. Okay, I believe it's Soldier On Painting and Collecting 1/72nd Scale War Game Figures. I think that's who it is. That's exactly who it is. That's exactly who it is. So his Facebook page is called Soldier Space On Painting and the symbol and Collecting 1/72nd War Game Figures. And you can see on the very first page, he's got a Tiger 1. And the mud looks really good on it. I don't know what this gentleman's name is. Yes, I assumed it was a gentleman. I don't know. It might be some woman that's not very gentlemanly. I don't know. Copy. Send this over to you. Paste. There you go. I sent you a link on Messenger. He's got a lot of mud things that look pretty good. You know? And it looks like it's not. You know how you can look at some things, you're like, man, that looks great, but I don't have a year of my life to dedicate to this one vehicle. This doesn't look like that, you know? So, all right, I will be right back within 5 minutes, I hope. I'm gonna go get some coffee and I'll be right back. That'll let time for these guys to percolate. We'll go to the next step on them. Be right back. I got a wild hair up my ass. Last couple days. I know I've talked about, I've never built anything Japanese World War II. I never have. Other than 1/2400 scale ships. I had a fair number of Japanese ships. The Pacific War isn't my favorite, but I did have a fair number of Japanese World War II ships with 1/2400 scale. Quite a few, actually. But short of that, I've never built any Japanese aircraft models, never built any Japanese tanks, or painted any of their infantry. And I kind of feel like I got a hankering, not to stop what I'm doing and going in that direction, but at some point in the future, to build some Japanese stuff. But in order to do that, considering I'm relatively ignorant of the Pacific theater, relatively ignorant from the standpoint of what I would call a non-ignorant wargamer would be, or compared to my knowledge of the other theaters, I really want to kind of get educated on, say, the Burma campaign. Something that's kind of land warfare, and, it'd be kind of cool to do something like that, or at least learn about it, or realize, I really like what this combat's about. One of the books that I've read, and I have a lot of books, and I haven't read a lot of them because, like I've said before, books sometimes put me to sleep. I haven't read a lot of physical books. I've actually gotten through a lot of books on Audible. But one of the books I did finish, and is an excellent book, and is actually a book on the Pacific, is Richard Frank's Guadalcanal book. And it's an excellent book, and it covers the land and naval stuff really well with a lot of detail. And I've read that one before, still have it. Of course, you couldn't tell I read through it because I'm extremely careful about opening books and so forth, using them. But Guadalcanal, the problem with Guadalcanal is a couple things. You have very limited use of vehicles, very, very limited. I think there was only a handful of Japanese tanks, literally a handful, like one hand's worth of them. And same thing with the Americans. They had some Stuarts, and the Japanese, I think they were Hagos over there. Kind of early on, they got taken out at Alligator Creek and they sat there. But Burma has kind of a better opportunity for having historical fiction type scenarios where it's not like, I read and they had exactly 3 of these vehicles and it was number 347 and it was 34, that kind of stuff where, just kind of like you can just kind of, I don't want to throw weird stuff out there, but, things that could be legitimate things. And so I think maybe I'll watch some videos in the next couple days, just kind of get my feet wet of that theater that I don't know very much about. And another thing that caught my attention is I came across a map the other day. It said Japan at its heyday. It said you have a map and it shows where the front lines and everything. And the heyday of it was in 1944. It was like in March or something of 1944. And I'm like, the fucking war is lost by then. I mean, like easily. Like it's not even like close to being. It's like, what? I'm like, the heyday of Japanese expansion was in 1944, not in 1942. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. It might have been an improperly labeled map, but it at least gave me some food for thought. So that might be something that I might be interested in. So I'm like, okay, so what programming am I going to watch? Well, I tend to like to watch something very general and then kind of narrow it down. And there's several people that do World War II podcasts. And unfortunately, the ones I've seen, Love any of them. There's one guy that I don't remember what his name is. I don't remember what his channel is, and they do much better channel than this. That I putz around and invite you into my hobby room and I do things. You know, I just do this for me. This is not a professional channel type thing, but I don't pretend to be somebody I'm not, and this isn't heavily edited. And some of you guys may appreciate that, and I'm sure a lot of people don't because it's too basic. Well, I'm not a, you know, I'm in it for this stuff, not necessarily my production value type of stuff. There's two other guys that come to mind that do World War II programming, and I don't really like either one of them. And they have legitimate channels. Actually, I'm going to throw a third one in there. I'm going to throw in the guy from Roll the Tanks, the Chieftain. Now, the problem I have with the Chieftain is I wish his demeanor was a little bit more fun. He's a little bit too much like, I don't think he'd be fun at parties. I don't mean you have to be David Lee fucking Roth, okay? But who I would not want to be at a party with. But he's a little too stick up his butt kind of thing. And I'm not that way. You know, I like to cut up. I like to laugh at my own shit if I think it's funny, you know. But, you know, it's a very basic channel like this. But that wasn't the two I was thinking of, because the Chieftain does tank stuff. And it's really informative, the stuff that he does. I wish it wouldn't do so many cutaways to another. Like, they move from one part to something else, and they have this, you know, this little animated thing that takes 10 seconds of you or whatever that promotes Roll of Tanks again, you know, once again or something like that. But he's a little too dry. I just don't like programming that's particularly dry, because history is a shitload of fun if it's presented correctly. And most of the people that don't like history is because they got exposed to it and it wasn't presented correctly. So we don't need more of that. Do they make British Chindits in your scale? I'm pretty sure they do. They make everything in my scale. Chindits sounds like a cut down that you would say to somebody who was half Chinese. Chindit. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what it is. Like I said, that's kind of they make Gurkhas. They make Gurkhas in the scale. Nasty bastards. Oh, those guys would be so nasty. So the two channels I'm thinking of, one of them is the one that the guy starts off every time with like which actually, it really turned me off, but it looks like a channel that has really basic information. I just don't like the delivery of the information on it. Every channel starts off with like him behind a desk, like taking a phone call. I don't know what his name is. I think the guy's name is Indy. If you can get through past that shtick, which doesn't really appeal to me, I think the information he has there is actually pretty specific, and not like, well, you know, Eisenhower moved over here and this kind of happened. It's, you know, talks a lot about the units and stuff. I've caught several of those episodes. I've got to like get through the shtick that, you know, the first 2 minutes of his show, which is a little too, you know, I think it's called like World War II Day by Day or something like that. So that might be a good place for me to start. I know that guy does all World War II theaters. So, and then the other one is a guy that I don't know what his channel is or whatever. And the guy is just, he does a lot of interviews and sends people off to different locations and reports on what's going on at the time, and really some tactical stuff that would be good for like for scenarios. But he just always seems like he's so damn serious and he's angry all the time. I don't know what the guy's name is or whatever, but he's got, two guys are prolific. They do a shitload of programming. But delivery is a big thing for me, because not everybody's good at it. And I'm, you know, I think we're all stuck with whatever delivery that we're born with. But we got to put 4 of these damn things together. And of course, they're all called 6A and 7A, but only 6A and 7A are one of them. Here's 6 and 7, but 9 and 10 are also the same group, 11 and 12, and these spare ones that don't even have a number on them. Sorry I have to leave you. Light it off, so I think time to get some sleep. Okay, get you some sleep. Good. Well, you nodded off, and I didn't piss anybody off with my comments about the other YouTube channels. Look, there's a lot of people out there that do some great programming. It just doesn't necessarily appeal to me. You know, and just like some people, I see people that connect on here and go, "Oh, you're talking about something," they leave. That's fine. I mean, you know, I can't have stuff that appeals to everybody all the time. It doesn't mean that their production value isn't good. It just means that sometimes it's just not as much fun. Adios, man. But that's the problem that I've noticed with, like, my wife and daughter, for instance. They don't really care for history, and especially my daughter, she'll admit it's because, Dad, they just teach you about dates and they just run you through, and you know, it's just, if you're in a history class and you're not enjoying most of what's being taught to you, it's being taught to you wrong. You know, history's absolutely fascinating, but most of the time they just got the wrong people teaching it. You know, taught in the wrong people teaching it, taught in the wrong way. You know, the dates thing doesn't really bother me. I'm really good with dates. I'm really good with maps. Put dates and maps together, I'm solid. You know, but not everybody's that way. But I thought of building some Pacific War models, mainly for the idea to learn more about the period. You know, it forces you. It forces me, maybe not other people. They're just like, I guess I'll just paint it however it is there. But you know, if let's say for instance I got a model of a Chiha tank, I'm gonna look online for, you know, paint schemes for Chiha tanks and learn about them. Like, oh, they usually have a number and it's usually only one, and there's other characters on the turret, and they're usually these colors, and you know, it's just wargaming. Model building has always been about learning about real shit that happened. For me, that's what it's always been for me. It's more about learning than it is actually playing a game. I just wouldn't want to do Pacific War gaming where it's like it's an island invasion type thing. You know, I was watching a video yesterday or the day before. I think it was the day before. Finally getting around to seeing the videos of Historicon that came out, and the Little Wars came out with their recap or whatever. Which is funny because I didn't see very many games that I actually would have wanted to play in. But one of the ones that they mentioned is that they in particular were putting on a campaign. I guess they were running multiple games of it at a time, or they ran multiple games of it, of Beto, which I can tell you is an island, and I think it's around the time period of Tarawa. I could be wrong. I'd have to look into it. I'm not afraid of saying I don't know shit. I don't know everything, you know. and I want to tell something, oh, it's a period of this, and it's not with that. But I think it's somewhere in 43. It's not super, super late. But anyhow, it's an amphibious assault type of scenario. And I just can't imagine a scenario like that, even if it's balanced. If the win conditions are balanced, there'd be a lot of fun playing as the Japanese. Because, you don't have any of the toys. And, I mean, you have none of the toys. And you're significantly outnumbered. And you probably can't move in the open really well. So, you're stuck wherever it is that you're stuck. Be a good game against, a computer or a pre-programmed opponent. Again, you got one side that outnumbers the other one, and that side also is landing and has air support and 16-inch or 14-inch gun support. And you're just sitting there hunkering down. This doesn't seem like a very fun scenario where, but it might be a good solitaire type thing, or if the GM is running one particular side. But that's not the Pacific stuff I want to do. You got to do like Kokoda Trail or Guadalcanal or Burma or something like that. So Burma's kind of a forgotten theater, I think. Oh no, it might be kind of cool. Might be kind of cool. Don't have to wargame it. Just build a couple models for it, Something a little different. Okay, well, I actually skipped a step. I didn't know that. Well, we're not doing anything with it, so we're okay. It's 15 and 15As, which these two halves, these ones. Okay, and we need to have 8 of these, so it's 16. These things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, these right here. These all need to come off. It's just so much easier using this knife than using the cutter. Especially since these aren't really pieces that are going to break on you or snap or... They can fly, however. That one snapped, and it snapped at the right place. That's convenient. Wow, I wasn't expecting that to happen. Especially since the other side wasn't broken. It just snapped in the middle. We'll just put our finger over it when we cut it. How about that? Just don't want to waste time looking for stuff. But I do have a Japanese Hago tank. It's not a very good model. By BP Cast, I think. I've had a long, long time. I should probably start with that first. Oh man, I had no intention of cutting that one. Where'd you fly off to? It's not like it fell in one of these boxes. I need to get the light over here. Well, I see part of it here. See, is it pairs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, I'm missing one half of it. Like I've said before, if stuff like this happens to me, I say definitely on the careful end of the spectrum, it's definitely happening to other people a lot more often. I make mistakes. I readily admit I made. Look, I found a piece. I heard where it went. I'm definitely on the careful end of the spectrum. It's not saying a whole lot with some people. Some people are just suicidal. You know, I'm also kind of carrying on while I'm doing this. Otherwise, I would have already given up. As I enjoy this monologue with the possibility of you guys joining in with some back and forth a lot more than listening to a Audible or music, anything like that. Seems too much. It seems too much like detention. If I'm not doing something even with a little bit of socialization. All right. So both of these sides are exactly the same. And half of them will need to be flipped this way. Yeah, I'm getting pretty tired myself. So I may have to take a break here in a few minutes. I said there's not really any. You know what? I'm going to take a break after these guys are glued in. Because that's about the right time I need to do. They got to sit here and percolate for a little bit. I put enough of this stuff on the piece that it's easy to lift off of. Here's one. 7 more of those. I swear I'm having coffee and I'm falling more asleep. I got like 8 hours of sleep last night too. Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop. I'm like literally falling asleep. So we'll pick this up a little later. Not necessarily anything difficult to do, it's just very, very tedious. But thanks for you, those of you that stopped by.